Hey guys, welcome to another video. This is Mitch Woodbine, and we're going to be taking a look into how to set up Arch Linux on VirtualBox. We're using VirtualBox because it's free, and we're using Arch Linux because we hate ourselves, and it's the hardest way to do this, so let's get started. So the reason we're choosing Arch Linux is mainly because it's small. It starts out of the gate as just a terminal, so you don't have any of the fancy, flashy, GUI interface, that kind of stuff. And because we hate ourselves, we're going to dive into this head first into the hardest way possible. So we're going to install basically the bare bones aspect of Linux, and then build our own system from the ground up. So this will be fun. First, you want to log on to virtualbox.org, and you want to download the VirtualBox, the big 6.0 green box thingy. Click on that. If you're on OS X, you click on that. If you're on Windows, you're going to click on this. I'm on Windows, so I'm going to click on that. Download this. I'm going to cancel this because I already have it. After you have that, you also want the VM VirtualBox extension pack. So as you can read here, you can use USB 2.0 and all this encryption and a whole bunch of other crap on there. So that should be included right out of the gate. I'm not really sure why, but hey, let's make two different downloads for it. So you're going to click on this as well and download that. Once you have that, we are going to go to archlinux.org to the download section. You're going to come down. I highly suggest doing the BitTorrent link for it because it's going to be much faster. But if you hate yourself even more, you can scroll down to wherever your country is, and you can download from a mirror. And this will probably take a couple hours, so good luck with that. Might want to pause this in the meantime. So once you have all that set, I have no idea what I just did there. There we go. So once you have all that, I'm going to download this with the magnet link in views. Oh. And while this is downloading, yeah, we'll be back when this is finished. So now that we're done downloading our 623 megabytes, finished about 8 minutes on a very slow internet connection, and that's with the torrent. So yeah, highly suggest doing it that way. So after we're done with that, we have our Arch Linux, and we've downloaded our VirtualBox. You want to install VirtualBox and have install the extensions. And once you have all that, you come to a screen like this. So as you can see, I already have one built, but we're going to create a new one. So we're going to hit machine, new, and we are going to, it's probably going to have you in guided mode. Let's jump over in expert mode because we're obviously experts. We are going to jump in and say Arch tutorial. You can name this whatever you want. When you type in Arch or anything Linux-wise, it'll usually jump right to the Linux, which is nice, and it'll actually jump right to our Arch Linux 64-bit, which is great. Now, for our memory size, you don't really need like a lot of memory for this, but we're going to put in about half of the available memory on this machine, just for fun. You can leave all this stuff alone and hit create. So now it's going to talk to us about the hard drive, and you really only need like, I don't know, 10 to 20 gig. It depends on what you're doing, but you don't really need a massive hard drive for Linux. So boom, we're done. Not really. Let's go on to settings. Let's have some fun here. So let's click around here. We already have that set. We don't have a floppy disk, so we really don't need that. Leave the chipset and that stuff alone for now. As long as it works, it works. We're going to jump our processes up to 4 because we want as much power as we can. You really don't want to go into this red area, just as a heads up, because this will start taking resources away from your host operating system, which is, in this case, Windows. And if Windows can't run properly, then this is obviously not going to run properly. So you really want to leave enough resources for this machine to function. Video memory, you can max out. You can actually, if you have dual monitors, you can actually split these monitors. So you can have Windows on one side and then Linux on the other, which is kind of cool. And then let's set up our CD-ROM. So this is where we're going to actually mount the downloads that we just downloaded. Where is it? Views. And the most up-to-date version. It's open. And this is going to automatically boot into Arch Linux for us, which is great. Audio really doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. All right. So hit OK. And let's boot this mother up. So as you can see on this is running really tiny and I can't see anything. So we can hit view and virtual screen and we can scale this up to like 225. So now we can actually see something. Let's actually do a little bit bigger. Yeah. All right, so we're just going to boot into Arch Linux. Yeah, it's just talking about the mouse and it wants to capture my mouse. It's fine. Hit enter and it will boot into Linux. Welcome to Arch. There we go. It started lurking services. Reach target lurking perms. All right, you have officially booted into Linux. Cool. So this is just running off of the CD, which is all great and everything, but you're not going to be able to save anything. So what we want to do is actually install Arch onto the virtual hard drive that we created in VirtualBox. So in order to do that, actually, if you guys want to follow along, I am on this link right here. So I have a GitHub, which is cool, VindenNL48, and I have a little thing called .files, and in my .files I have a file called Arch install. And this is a script that basically does everything automatically for you. I don't suggest actually running it, but you can, as long as you read through everything. But in here, this is basically the whole process of what I'm going through to create the partitions and the hard drive and setting everything up, getting Grub installed, and all that fun stuff. So if you'd like to follow along, check out that link. Back to the show. All right. So what we're going to do here is first, let's set up time date CTL set NTP true. So this is going to set up our time, date, and location settings and all that fun stuff. So next we're going to do is lsblk. What this is going to do is show us all of the different drives that are on the system, including our disk and our CD-ROM. So as you can see, we have our 10 gig disk, which is called SDA. That's under that loop 0. And then we have our SR0, which is the CD-ROM. So the only thing we can actually write to is the SDA. So we're going to do fdisk, not fids, fdisk, dev SDA. And fdisk is basically a program to edit, manipulate partitions and partition maps. So we're going to create a DOS partition map. We're going to hit N for new partition. We're going to create a primary partition. We're going to create partition number 1. First sector is going to be the earliest that it can be. And last sector is going to be plus 200 meg. We're going to have a 200 megabyte boot sector. Oh, you can't actually see this, can you? What is happening? All right. So yeah, so you want this 200 meg. Hit enter. Then we are going to make that the primary. Not by hitting P, we're going to hit A to make that bootable flag on partition 1. And then we're going to create the root. And we're going to do that by hitting N for new partition, primary, partition number 2. First sector we're going to leave after the boot partition, and then we're going to make this the default, which is the rest of the hard drive. So we made the hard drive 10 gigs, so we're going to be taking 200 megabytes away from that. So it's going to be 9 gig plus 800 megabytes. So hit enter. And then P one more time to print it out and make sure everything looks pretty and nice, even though you guys probably don't know really what you're looking at here. But just giving us a printout of what the partition map is going to look like. That boot star is on the SDA1, you kind of need that to be able to boot onto the boot partition. So after we're all happy with that, hit W and enter. And now we have a partition map. Awesome. So what we need to do now is make this full screen again. Now that you can see everything, we're going to format the partitions, and we're going to format them to ext4. So by doing mkfs.ext4, we can format the partitions. Dev SDA1, and then we're going to have to do SDA2 as well. So that's going to do the boot and the root. Boot and root. Boot and root. Now we need to install Arch Linux onto this hard drive. So in order to do that, we have to mount the partitions onto the Arch that we're running right now. To be able to access the hard drive, you have to mount the partitions. So we're going to mount the dev SDA2, the root partition, onto MNT. And this is on this MNT is on our file system right now. Right here. It's on our file system right now. Whereas the dev SDA2, that's on the hard drive. So we need to mount that to MNT. By doing that, now we can ls our MNT, and we can see that what's on that partition right now, and it's lost and found. So now we need to mount dev SDA1. Oh no, we need to actually make the files first. That would help, wouldn't it? Make dir MNT boot MNT home. So now we're making a boot directory and a home directory on the root directory that we just mounted. So now if we ls MNT, we can see that those directories were created. So now what we're going to do is mount dev SDA1 onto MNT boot. So now we have the boot partition mounted inside of the root partition. And now after all of this is done, we can actually start installing Arch. Backstrap, MNT, base devel, Arch Manager, Vim, and Git. So this packstrap command is going to be installing Arch. We're going to install it on the -mnt where we mounted the root partition. We're going to install base Arch and then base development tools of Arch. And then we're installing Network Manager. You really only need this for if you're installing it on a laptop or some device that doesn't have networking inherently. But since we're in VirtualBox, that inherently does networking for you, so you really don't have to worry about it, but we're going to install it anyway. Then Vim is a text editor that we're going to be installing, and Git is a version control program that we're going to be installing. So you don't really need anything after this base devel, you really don't need, but we're going to install it anyway because it's handy. So hit that. Okay. So we have a issue that sometimes happens with Arch because that it's a rolling distribution and it's always updating. You might run into 404 errors when you're installing stuff, and this can be kind of a pain sometimes, but luckily I have the answer for you. So what we're going to do is enable a mirror that actually works because it's downloading from a mirror in mirror.netweaver.uk. So we're not in the UK, we're in America. Yeah, we're all fat. It's okay. So what we're going to do is edit the mirror list by going vim etc pacman.d/mirror list. So this is going to be editing the mirror list for Pacman. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever used Vim before, but it is a awesome text editor that is probably very confusing at first. So I'm going to walk you through keystroke by keystroke on how to actually edit this file. So what we're first going to do is comment out everything. So that way we only activate the servers that we want. So use the arrow keys to highlight this hashtag right next to United Kingdom. You're going to do Control V, and it'll say visual block down at the bottom. That means you did it right. Then you're going to do Shift G, or capital G. That's going to bring you down to the very end of the file. Then you're going to do Shift I. then you're going to do hashtag space and escape, and that will comment out everything, which is really cool. Now the next thing you're going to do is /. You can see at the bottom of the screen the / popped up, and then you're going to type in the name of your country. So for me it's United States, and the first server for United States will pop up, and you're going to use the arrow keys to move the cursor to the hashtag in front of server, and then hit the letter XX, and there we go. So now we're going to do :WQ, enter, and that is going to quit and save the file. So now if we clear that out and then rerun the same packstrap command, it should work. Boom, there we go. All right, so I will see you guys in a little bit because this is going to take a while. So yeah. All right, and we are back. Let's keep going on the road here. So let's clear this out. Next, we're going to create our fstab file, gen fstab.u or -u mnt etc fstab. So an fstab file is basically just a text file that includes addresses for the different partitions and hard drives that you're going to be using for your install. So this is pretty important. So you're going to run that. We can actually take a look at it if you want. I guess if you really want to see it, we can take a look at it. So the UUIDs are the partitions. So you have the root partition here, and then you have the boot partition on SDA1. So now we can chroot into our MNT. So arch chroot MNT. So what this is going to do is actually convert the Arch Linux that we're running right now, and we're going to jump inside of the hard drive and pretend that we actually booted off of the hard drive initially. So now we're actually inside the hard drive, inside the Arch Linux that we just installed, which is pretty cool. So what we're going to start first is, if you're on a laptop, you can do systemctl enable network manager, and this is going to start up the network manager and be able to connect to a Wi-Fi device. But we're not going to do that because we're in VirtualBox. So we're going to do mkinit cpio-p linux. And what this is going to do is basically build the kernel up. So any hooks, any other things that you might have done custom to the kernel, this is going to put all that together. So once all that is done, now we can install grub. Grub-a-dub-dub. So pacman s grub. Yes. And what grub is the boot manager. So in case you had multiple operating systems installed, you could use grub to switch between Windows and Linux, basically it's just there to tell the hardware to navigate to where it's supposed to go and how to start up stuff. So it's pretty important. It's like the basis of life. Grub install target i386 PC dev SDA. So this target on VirtualBox i386-PC. This is actually the chipset. So if you end up having problems with this install, you're going to have to do a little bit of research on what the target chipset is for your PC that you're installing on. And then you're going to do the hard drive at dev SDA, so the SDA hard drive. No errors reported. That is fantastic. So next we're going to do the grub mkconfig-o/boot grub.cfg. And this is just going to generate the configuration file. So you can actually edit grub to either boot in less than 5 seconds, or you can do hooks, or you could do some other cool stuff with grub that is not actually in this video. So why am I talking about it? So next we need to add a password because passwords are handy. So just type in password and do it twice. Password updated successfully. Password. Next we have to set locales. So we're going to do vim etc locale.gen. So in here, the locale is basically your country. So in the US, we're going to search for en_US. All right, so because it's Vim, and if people don't know what Vim is, I'm going to walk you through it again. So you're going to do /, and if you're looking for the US, you're going to do en_US. And when you hit enter, it's going to find this first option under examples, which is not what you want. So you're going to hit N, and again. And now you can see the cursor is under this ENUS UTF-8 UTF-8. So what we're going to do is delete this hashtag with X, and then we're going to go to the bottom one underneath that and hit X. So all the ones that say ENUS, we're going to uncomment. So that way it's going to use those as our default locales. So then we're going to do :WQ to quit and save. And boom, there goes the dynamite. I hope that's not trademarked. So after that, we have to generate the locales. So we're going to do locale-gen. It's going to generate our stuff there. And then we can echo lang en_us.utf8 etc locale conf. So whatever country you're in, you're going to have that country here. And then you saw in that previous file, shoot. All right, let's go back to the previous file so y'all can see. All right, so you see how the en_us.utf8. So this part is the one that we're going to be writing into that section. So you could do just enus2 for ISO 8859-1. If you're in Arizona, I have no idea what AR stands for, but you could do AR.UTF-8 if you wanted. So what we're going to do is, again, echo lang equals en_us. So what this is going to do is echo the text lang equals en_us UTF-8 into, which is this greater than sign, into this file, etc locale-conf. So that way it's going to use that as our default language, is UTF-8. So now we have to set up the local date and time to make sure that that's accurate. So we're going to create a link, which to create a link you do ln-s, F for force, because we're a forcing kind of people. User, share, zone info. So in zone info, there's quite a lot of different zones you can choose from. I am in America, and my time zone is in New York. And then we're going to create that link inside etc local time. So it's just going to create a link from this zone info into local time. And after that, we're going to create our host name, which is just the name of your computer that's going to be on the network. So echo arch, sure, etc host name. So this could be anything. This could be, bogus, I hate arch, why am I doing this? So next we are going to set wheel permissions. And we are going to find, scroll down all the way until you see, all right, this root. This is all the inherent permissions of everything. So root has all permissions of all things because root is God, basically. And then wheel, we can uncomment wheel all. So that way, in case anybody is a member of the wheel group, they also have root privileges with the sudo command. So you're going to do that XX right in front of it with the hashtag, and then underneath that, we're going to do a little thing called defaults TTY tickets. And no, it's not tickets to your favorite Taylor Swift show. This is tickets for, I don't really know actually what this is for. So whenever we do sudo Pac-Man or sudo something, we have to enter the password in the first time. But when we disable the tickets, then that means that every subsequent time in the same terminal, we don't have to re-enter the password every single time. So it removes a little bit of security, but it makes a lot of things easier. So we're going to hit escape after that, :WQ to quit and save. And then we're going to continue on our merry way. Oh, read-only option. Okay, so we're going to do :WQ exclamation point. All right. And that's it. Yeah. That's it. All right, so we can exit out of our Arch root, ch root, and then we can mount mnt boot, and then mount mnt, and shut down now. And that will kill everything, and then you have to start over. No, I'm just kidding. So now we go to our Arch tutorial. Let's go to settings real quick. Make sure that this is removed from our virtual CD drive. So we boot on the actual hard drive itself and hit start and cross our fingers because I hope this works. The anticipation is killing me. Okay, so this is grub. So we finally reached grub and we're loading Linux. Yes, capture the mouse. It's fine. I really don't care. Hey, we finally made it. Awesome. So you have successfully loaded Arch onto your system. Now to get in, the only user right now is root. And you enter the password that we created earlier and boom. Awesome. So now you've made it this far. Follow my other videos on how to create a kick-ass development environment and install i3 and how to use Vim and all that other fun stuff. So have fun.